This story, known as one of Ghana's best, teaches important lessons. Long before Christianity and Islam reached Africa, our ancestors used stories to share wisdom with their communities. They taught their children through tales and real experiences, passing these lessons down through generations. Among these cherished tales is the poignant story of Quata, known infamously as the greediest man in Africa. The tale of Quata is not just a story. It's a journey into the complexities of human emotions, highlighting the thin line between desire and excess. It unfolds in Ananse, a community where the bonds of friendship and kinship are as strong as the earth that nourishes their lands. Quata and Dapa, central figures in this tale, were the epitome of friendship. Their lives were interwoven with shared dreams and daily toils as they worked side by side in the fields and ventured into the wilderness to hunt. This bond was a beacon of unity, admired and revered by their community. Their friendship was a tapestry of trust and mutual respect, painted against the backdrop of Ananse's lush landscapes. The two friends, inseparable in their endeavors, epitomized the spirit of communal living, where sharing was not just a necessity, but a way of life. They shared their harvests, their homes, and their hearts, embodying the essence of true friendship. One morning, Quata and Dapa planned their usual night hunt. But when it was time to leave, Quata claimed he felt unwell and asked Dapa to go alone, promising to share whatever was caught. Dapa, aware of Quata's laziness and tendency to be cunning, quietly accepted his friend's excuse and went hunting by himself. He didn't complain or argue, understanding Quata's ways, yet choosing to continue their tradition of hunting. This situation reflects their complex friendship, where understanding and unspoken agreements play a significant role. Despite Quata's behavior, Dapa carried on, showing his dedication to their hunting practice and perhaps hoping that their shared experiences would remain intact, even when tested by laziness and deceit. Back then, without mobile phones or any way to call for help, hunters often lost their way in the vast forest. The wilderness, beautiful yet unforgiving, could easily confuse even the most experienced. Many spent days wandering among the ancient trees, trying to find a path back home, their hearts heavy with the fear of never seeing their loved ones again. The forest, with its whispering leaves and hidden trails, was both a sanctuary and a labyrinth, holding within its green embrace the stories of those who ventured too deep. Some tragically never returned, their names becoming part of the forest's silent lore. Dapa, after several hunts, tragically lost his way in the vast whispering forest. For days he wandered, seeking familiar signs to guide him home, but none came. His heart grew heavy with the solitude and fear of being forever lost in the forest's embrace. On the third day, a colossal tree shrouded in mystery appeared before him. As he stood in awe, a sudden gust of wind revealed a clearing beneath the tree, stark and foreboding. Fear crept into Dapa's heart, the tree's imposing presence and the eerie quiet of the clearing sending shivers down his spine. He instinctively hid near the tree, the sense of dread overwhelming. The once familiar forest now seemed like a labyrinth of shadows and unknown dangers, with Dapa caught in its silent, haunting spectacle. Within minutes, Dapa's eyes widened in disbelief as a broom descended from the towering tree, suspended in mid-air as if gripped by invisible hands. In those days, tales of dwarves haunting the deep forest were common, mystical beings known to play tricks on humans, leading them astray or making them vanish without a trace. Dapa's heart raced, realizing this uncanny spectacle might be the dwarves' doing, as the broom swept the ground beneath the tree, creating a clear space in the eerie silence of the forest. Dapa felt a surge of fear. The broom moved with purpose, yet no one was there to wield it. This sight, both fascinating and terrifying, confirmed the legends he'd heard since childhood. Dwarves, though rarely seen, were powerful and capricious, capable of altering the very fabric of reality for those they encountered. The broom's dance ended as abruptly as it began, returning to the tree's embrace. Dapa, rooted in place by fear and wonder, then witnessed chairs descending from the branches, setting themselves as if for a ghostly assembly. The scene was surreal, a blend of awe and dread that gripped his soul. Trapped in this supernatural tableau, Dapa felt an overwhelming sense of vulnerability. The forest, once a place of livelihood, now seemed a domain of ancient, unfathomable forces, with Dapa caught in its mysterious, invisible tide. Hidden in the shadows, Dapa's eyes grew wide as he saw dozens of dwarves descend from the tree, each taking a seat in the circle of chairs arranged below. The clearing under the great tree transformed into a council ground, where over 40 dwarves gathered, their small figures casting long shadows in the twilight. At the center sat the dwarf king, an imposing figure with a long white beard, his age evident, yet his gaze sharp and commanding. Dapa, heart pounding, watched from his hiding spot, hoping to slip away unnoticed once the assembly concluded. The meeting, filled with an ancient language and rituals, seemed to last an eternity. As the dwarves prepared to depart, a sudden tension cut through the air. The dwarf king, his voice resonant and deep, inquired if his kin could detect the human scent. Dapa's blood ran cold. Fear clenched his heart as the king's eyes seemed to pierce through the veil of leaves and directly at him. Realizing his presence was known, Dapa, with humility born of his simple life as a hunter, began to inch forward, his every move a mixture of respect and dread. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation and fear. His journey through the forest had led him to this moment of confrontation, a meeting with beings of legend, stirring a maelstrom of emotions within him: fear, awe, and a desperate hope for mercy. Confronted by the dwarf king, Dapa, trembling, revealed his story without deceit. He confessed to being a hunter who had lost his way. The king, skeptical, demanded proof of his hunting life. Dapa, his hands shaking, presented his sack, his eyes pleading for understanding. Upon verifying Dapa's honesty, the king's demeanor softened slightly. "What do you seek from us?" the king inquired. Dapa, his voice a mere whisper, admitted, "I wish only to return home." The king's laughter echoed through the clearing, a sound both ominous and intriguing. He took Dapa's sack, whispering ancient words over it, imbuing it with a mysterious power. In this tense exchange, fear and hope collided within Dapa. His simple wish to return home, entwined with the unpredictability of the forest's hidden rulers, created a poignant scene of vulnerability. The dwarf king, a figure of both dread and awe, held Dapa's fate in his hands, casting spells that could either doom or deliver him. As soon as the dwarf king's incantations touched the sack, it grew incredibly heavy, signifying the enchantment it now bore. With a solemn promise, the king assured Dapa of safe passage home, urging him to guard the sack's secret until dawn's light. Miraculously, within moments, Dapa found himself near his dwelling, the journey's mystery shrouded in the forest's mystical embrace. Sprinting to his abode, heart pounding with a mix of fear and anticipation, Dapa concealed the sack beneath his bed. The secrecy of his burden was his alone, not even shared with Quata, his closest confidant. Obedience to the king's command was paramount. As morning's first light crept through the curtains, Curiosity overcame him. Unveiling the sack's contents, Dapa's eyes met with the shimmering allure of gold, a treasure so vast it seemed to pulsate with life. Overwhelmed with joy and disbelief, he sought out Quata, his heart full of tales of the night's mystical encounter and the dwarf king's benevolent magic. Quata listened in awe as Dapa recounted his adventure, the air between them charged with the excitement of the untold wealth and the mystical nature of Dapa's journey. Together they marveled at the gold, a symbol of their unbreakable bond, and the extraordinary night that had brought them this unexpected fortune. In a gesture of generosity, Dapa offered to split the gold, allowing Quata to select his share first. However, this act of kindness sparked a fire of greed and envy in Quata's heart. He viewed Dapa's offer not as a gesture of friendship, but as a challenge, his eyes gleaming with avarice. Rejecting the share, Quata's thoughts raced with visions of acquiring even greater wealth. "Keep your gold!" Quata spat out bitterly, his words laced with jealousy. "You've shown me the path. I'll find those dwarves and claim a fortune far surpassing yours." With a dismissive throw, he returned the gold to Dapa, his actions dripping with contempt and mistrust. His departure was swift, leaving behind a cloud of tension. Quata's promise to outdo Dapa's fortune and his threat to sever their friendship if successful revealed the depth of his envy and ambition. The once solid bond between the friends was now tainted by Quata's greed and the seductive lure of wealth, casting a shadow of mistrust and rivalry over their relationship. Quata, fueled by jealousy and greed, embarked on a deceitful journey into the forest the following evening. His heart wasn't lost, nor was his path, but he feigned disorientation, mimicking the ordeal his friend Dapa had faced. His eyes burned with envy, thinking of the gold that Dapa had gained from his encounter with the dwarves. Convinced that pretense would lead him to greater riches, Quata wove a web of lies, portraying himself as a lost traveler in the hopes of invoking the dwarves' appearance and claiming a fortune far surpassing his friends'. His actions were a stark betrayal of their friendship, driven by an insatiable desire for wealth. Quata's journey into the depths of the forest was a calculated risk, gambling the trust and bond formed over years for the lure of gold. As he ventured deeper, the shadow of his deceit and greed followed, setting the stage for a confrontation with fate and the mystical beings he sought. In our next video, we will unveil the outcome of Quata's treacherous quest. Will he find the dwarves and the wealth he covets, or will his greed lead to a downfall? Stay tuned to discover the repercussions of Quata's envy and betrayal in his relentless pursuit of gold. Dear viewers, if you've enjoyed the enchanting tale brought to you by Ananse Web of Tales, we'd love to hear from you. Share with us where you're watching from and let us know your thoughts on this captivating story. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to stay connected with us for more mesmerizing narratives. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for being a part of our storytelling community.